Ooh. Would mean that guys like Lawrence Okoli, and especially if it's your right eye, if Jake's getting hit in his right eye, that usually would mean that he's getting jabbed, because that jab in orthodox would come out from the left hand on the right eye side.
And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't.
Jake Paul has reportedly run into trouble during preparations for his fight with Anthony Joshua. During a recent appearance, he revealed a bruised and swollen eye, explaining that it came from a hard sparring session with heavyweight Lawrence Okoli. While rumors quickly spread online, Paul framed the incident as part of intense training rather than a setback.
Keep it going. Way too long. There you go. Good round, Jake. Check that.
Joey Knight noted that Jake Paul has been pushing himself by sparring with elite heavyweight fighters such as Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez, and Jared Anderson. Throughout these training sessions, Paul was seen carrying visible signs of damage, reflecting just how punishing the work has been. Knight described it as the most difficult stretch of Paul's camp so far, explaining that the size, power, and experience of his sparring partners took a clear physical toll. The cuts, bruises, and swelling observed after training served as a reminder of how demanding preparation is when gearing up to face someone on Anthony Joshua's level. According to Knight, even controlled rounds with top heavyweights present serious risks, highlighting that Paul is being tested in ways he has never experienced before.
Ranked Lawrence Okoli. That is who Jake Paul has been sparring with over the past few weeks.
Trouble finding Hussein Mohammed early on.
And a lot of you guys will know this because Jake Paul showed the bruises and marks on his face and said that it was Lawrence Okoli that had done that. And faces don't necessarily tell you how a spar went. Some guy can have blood all over him, he can have a busted up nose, but he still won the rounds in sparring. But I can only imagine that this week has been a very, very humbling experience for Jake Paul. In fact, the past few weeks will have been eye-opening for Jake Paul. A past few weeks where he has sparred the likes of Lawrence Okoli, of Jared Anderson, and of Frank Sanchez as well. And being that I have seen Jake Paul go life and death with Tommy Fury, you can guarantee you that Okoli, that Anderson, and that Frank Sanchez have basically manhandled Jake Paul in there. And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't, because then I remember the 70-odd million that he's reported to be earning at the end of this fight. But you can't deny, right, that in a world where these almost fantasy fights and whatnot are making such a shitload of cash, that Jake Paul's probably being paid in line for this fight, actually. And the reason I say he's being paid in line is because I really don't think it takes a genius to work out where I'm going with my prediction for this fight. And that is obviously, no, in fact, drum roll, please. AJ via knockout, obviously, technical knockout, if Jake
Paul's decision to spar with elite heavyweight fighters has sparked heavy debate among boxing analysts and fans. While Paul has built his reputation by facing recognizable names, his preparation for a potential fight with Anthony Joshua has exposed just how massive the leap truly is. Training footage and reports from camp show Paul dealing with overwhelming power from natural heavyweights, revealing flaws that never surfaced in his previous fights. Veteran analyst Wade noted that these sparring sessions uncovered a serious weakness, pointing to reports that Paul was knocked out during practice. The incident suggests Paul may be struggling to cope with the sheer strength and punching force that experienced heavyweights bring. As a result, serious questions are being raised about whether Paul's confidence matches his actual readiness to step in the ring with a former heavyweight champion like Joshua.
Is which one of those two things is happening, and question is, how is it going down? Because what we know about Anthony Joshua is that he has a nasty lead hook, and he's going to have a reach advantage on Jake, just like Lawrence Okoli does in the gym, which is why Jake has brought him in. So that jab's going to be effective. That lead hand of AJ is going to be effective. How does Jake maneuver around that? And again, you can look at this a couple of ways. One, okay, you get hit hit with it in camp so you don't get hit with it in the fight, which is why you bring these heavyweights in. It's why you bring Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okolie, Frank Sanchez in. Or two, there's a massive flaw in what Jake's doing, that he's continually getting hit with this, and the indication that he's getting hit by Okolie means he's going to get hit the same way with Anthony Joshua. I tend to believe a little bit of both, right? You do this so that it doesn't happen, but also how much can Jake really learn and to avoid something that's coming out with the jab or with the lead hook, or just, again, the distance control and the range of a guy like Okolie and a guy like AJ.
Footage from Jake Paul's sparring sessions suggests he has been repeatedly caught clean on the chin by full-sized heavyweights, leaving visible marks and highlighting the physical punishment he's absorbing in camp. Training against fighters like Lawrence, Okolie represents a level of intensity far beyond anything Paul has faced before. Observers note that the blend of size, power, and technical skill in these sparring partners is exposing clear limitations in Paul's defensive awareness and ability to withstand sustained heavyweight pressure.
6'5". He isn't 250 pounds. He's not a natural heavyweight. And you could say that's an advantage to Jake. He's going to be able to move around a little bit. Again, we'll talk about his feet in a second. But it's more, to me, the fact that what we're not seeing is the biggest weakness of Jake's, on top of the fact that he's gotten an eye smashed up in sparring. They said Frank Sanchez made his nose look like a crescent moon. We'll get to that in a second. Lawrence Okolie is giving him a freaking shiner in sparring. So again, you could say that's great work from Jake to be able to have these high-level guys come in, but you also have to admit that he's getting hit, and he's getting hit a lot by guys that aren't Anthony Joshua in terms of their skill and ability, or at least not at the highest level that AJ has been to. So,
but we brought in world champion heavyweight sparring partners, guys who are 270 pounds, 250 pounds, sparring them, has been insane. I still got the remnants of
I see you taking a little shot there. I like that you're taking the...
Veteran analyst Castillo doesn't sugarcoat his assessment. In his view, sharing a ring with Anthony Joshua would be a punishing reality check for Jake Paul. He argues that no amount of intense sparring can truly simulate Joshua's fight night power, timing, and composure. According to Castillo, if Paul were to last beyond the opening few rounds, it would already exceed most expectations. The broader point is unmistakable. Sparring with big men offers lessons, but it cannot replicate the sustained threat posed by a proven former champion. The distance between influencer-style matchmaking and a genuine world-class heavyweight contest remains enormous.
I think, honestly speaking, if Jake can last 3 rounds, in a way he's kind of won a mental victory, because I'll be real, I think everybody's expecting AJ to come there and blast them out in 1 round. But I think a moral victory would be if Jake just lands 1 stun punch on him. That'd be good enough for him. But kudos to Jake Paul for even doing this, because honestly speaking, I'm not going to lie to you, one of the greatest moments that I've witnessed in boxing history, and I know Jake Paul is obviously an influencer, and I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. So this is a bit weird to say that this is quite a huge moment, but just when he came out last year and he came out of his brother and he came out on a low rider, I got goosebumps, because in that moment I said to myself, how can anybody watch this and not feel like dreams can't come true? He must even surprise himself looking at that and think to himself, how on earth am I even here fighting Mike Tyson? And one more thing, even speaking of that, I give him a lot of respect for not knocking out Mike Tyson, because he could have. And so I respect him for that. So against AJ, and for AJ as well, AJ gets a lot of flack, but at the same time, I think AJ's he's about 35, 36, 37 right now. He doesn't really have anything else to prove right now, so why not cash out with a big fight?
Simon Jordan, speaking alongside the TalkSport host, highlighted Anthony Joshua's one-punch knockout power and how it fundamentally changes the risk level for Jake Paul. As the bout draws closer, the conversation has shifted away from treating it like an exhibition and toward acknowledging it as a genuinely dangerous fight. Analysts stress that Joshua's ability to end a contest instantly isn't hype or theory. It's backed by years as a heavyweight champion with elite timing, technique, and devastating power. While Paul's heavy sparring is designed to prepare him for those moments of danger, seasoned observers agree there is a massive difference between controlled gym rounds and facing the full force of a world-class heavyweight under fight night conditions.
And having Anthony Joshua in front of you, I really hope it doesn't go to that end, but it's a very, very dangerous fight.
You actually just said that if the fight goes ahead, do you believe then that this fight won't go ahead? Because there's many people that do.
I mean, I think it goes ahead, but I mean, I don't know what Jake Paul is thinking, to be honest, because you're talking about someone that is 2 times heavyweight champion of the world. Is someone that actually have got a one-punch knockout power. He understands range, he understands positioning, he understands how to set you up. He's a bigger man, he's a stronger man. I don't know where, for me, yes, that I'm thinking the worst, but I want to be positive, and I really hope that both of them goes home safe with plenty of money. But looking statistically and the professionalism of the sport, I don't see the fight going past 2 rounds.
Well, interestingly, when we're recording this show, it's been announced, and it'll come after, our show will come out afterwards, that Jake Paul was doing an announcement this afternoon at, I think, something like 2 o'clock our time. So who knows what that's likely to be. Interestingly, I spoke to Eddie Hearn when the fight was first announced to try and get the take of what this really was. And his belief, Eddie's belief, and whether you subscribe to Eddie's views on this, is that he genuinely believes that Jake Paul doesn't know what he's walking into, doesn't seem to have a regard for what he's walking into, is slightly deluded about it, thinks that Anthony's a bit chinny, and thinks he has a chance in this fight. Now, I don't know about you boys, but unless you've lived under a stone, you know that Anthony Joshua can punch. The only debate about Anthony Joshua is not the physicality of Anthony Joshua, it's the psychology of him. There's going to be no psychological damage to Anthony Joshua when he walks in against Jake Paul. This has jeopardy written all over it, doesn't it?
I think from Jake Paul's side, I think
For Jake Paul, physically?
Yeah, I think that Jake Paul, though, is actually deluded enough to believe that if he gets inside, that he's got...
Is he?
He must be, Simon, otherwise the fight wouldn't be going ahead. He truly believes that he...
That was possible, but it is, and it's happening. And my initial thoughts were, Anthony's just going to blast him out as soon as he hits him. He's going to just punch his head in and knock him out. That was my initial thoughts.
See what I was sitting ringside when Anthony Joshua annihilated Francis Ngannou. Now Ngannou's not a boxer, but he is a fighter. He's a big lump. He knows what it takes to take punches. He was a lot more than that going into the fight with Anthony Joshua. He'd just beaten, on my opinion, and knocked down Tyson Fury, who was the champion at the time. So I don't think that fight is a close representation of what Jake Paul brings to the table, because Anthony Joshua was going into that fight against someone who looked like they just beat Tyson Fury. So although on paper Ngannou didn't have any credentials in boxing, he had the physicality, the size, the strength, and all of that cage fighting background to somehow put together an amazing 10 rounds with Tyson Fury and lose a close fight. So Anthony Joshua went into the Ngannou fight on his best form. He went into there with that fear factor where he didn't want the performance Tyson Fury had. He wanted to really impress. So he obviously tuned right in for that fight, and the results were clear to see. Is Anthony Joshua going to go into this fight with Jake Paul with the same mindset after seeing him fight beat on points a 58-year-old Mike Tyson? My opinion is no. I think he feels zero fear in this fight. He's in a unique situation where he's going into a boxing ring with someone he doesn't believe